Israel's our ally. Not a single word in your speech for the atrocities that were committed on October the 7th.
We should
not
cut
a single
off arms
word,
tomorrow.
not a single.
In this segment, we dive into a tense exchange between MAGA pundit Scott Jennings and the rest of the panel. We'll break down key moments from this fiery debate, featuring Scott Jennings, Emma Vigeland, and others. Together, we'll analyze what's truly being said and why it's important. Let's jump in and see how this discussion unfolds.
Tonight, a flurry of activity on foreign policy. In the last 2 days, Trump has hosted both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago. And he's had a high-stakes phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin. It appears to be a last-ditch effort to shore up some foreign policy wins for 2025. But is it working? Well, it's been nearly 4 years since the start of that war between Russia and Ukraine. And it appears that Trump is continuing to take Putin at his word over Zelensky. Here's just the latest example. Putin's claim that Ukraine struck one of his homes.
It's another thing to attack his house. It's not the right time to do any of that, and can't do it. And I learned about it from President Putin today. I was very angry about it.
Ukraine calls that allegation a complete fabrication. But with Zelensky to the president's right, Trump claimed that Russia actually wants Ukraine to succeed. And you can tell from Zelensky's face exactly how he felt about that comment. Watch.
They're going to be helping. Russia's going to be helping. Russia wants to see Ukraine succeed. Once, it sounds a little strange, but I was explaining to the president, President Putin was very generous in his feeling toward Ukraine succeeding, including supplying energy, electricity, and other things at very low prices.
I guess the question I have coming out of this is, what's the strategy? Is there any strategy at all here? Or is Trump just getting on the phone with Putin, listening to what he says, and then regurgitating everything that Putin says to him?
It feels like this is held together with Scotch tape and Elmer's glue at this point, because the most important person that you need at that table, Putin, didn't even show up. He did call and sort of set the groundwork before that meeting took place, but Putin has showed us over and over again where he stands. There's never been a ceasefire after the meeting at the Vatican, after Alaska, after this week. He has shown us repeatedly that bombing is mightier than the pen. You can't have peace talks without a key player involved in this. And it doesn't matter what you have on paper. It doesn't hold on the ground if you don't have security guarantees, if you don't talk about the harsh issues, the difficult topics of territory, which President Trump has said are still sticky and they haven't come to be resolved at this point.
So, Scott, why is Trump so seemingly naive about this? And also, why is he giving Putin so much credibility on the world stage that he wants what's best for Ukraine? Here's how Jim Garrity put it. This is like saying that Trump wanted to help Kamala Harris succeed in their last presidential election, or that the Death Star wanted Alderaan to succeed. For there to be peace, all Putin would have to do is issue the order, stop bombing, stop shooting, and peace would occur.
Yeah, I think the president is constantly talking to both of these guys and trying to find a way to get them to both get into a place where they don't have to go back home and say, we lost. I mean, that's the reality here. This only ends with a negotiated settlement. Both people have to go home and say, we won, or we got something out of this, or this didn't totally end on terms that are opposed to us. It's very tricky, and obviously it's, a solution has evaded him for the last year. I don't have really any faith in Vladimir Putin. They've never engaged in any kind of ceasefire. He's never shown any interest really in ceasing hostilities for any period of time, and they've bombed Ukraine at times, when it felt like something was happening, and then Russia moves in and
just this
rattles
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
People
so
without power in Ukraine, like 2 days before your meeting with. But that's not exactly a sign that you're interested in peace.
But I credit the president for trying. It may be the most difficult foreign policy issue he has to deal with. I think ultimately it will be dealt with, but it's not going to be dealt with. I mean, Putin's never going to go to Moscow and wave a white flag, and you don't want Zelensky to have to do that either, because obviously they're the aggrieved party here. So it's like trying to, put a camel through the eye of a needle.
It's definitely not being solved on day one.
Yeah, there's another big problem that's looming off the Eurasian continent, which is Taiwan, right? And so as we are dealing with this, the Chinese leadership is sitting in the capital, watching how we're behaving with one of our supposed allies, Ukraine. And if we reward territorial benefit Vladimir Putin's aggression, you will see a signal to the Chinese leadership that they can go into Taiwan and they are not going to necessarily be guaranteed that the United States is going to push them back. That is a major strategic problem for us. The way we are reorienting ourselves away from our commitments in the Pacific and in Europe and toward this sort of Monroe Doctrine, Western Hemisphere strongman stance you were talking about earlier is a problem for us on the global scene.
Well, our national security strategy,
I would say it's not a problem in the context of, as Zelensky said today, Russia will win without the United States' involvement on Ukraine's side. And so the power dynamics are completely different. And I think that's why you see the president trying to bring Putin to the table and provide him some out to say that he won this. I don't think President Trump cares about what anyone, including myself at this table, says about the strategy that he believes is the right one. This whole idea of moral ambiguity in dealing with Putin, I totally get that. But we can also acknowledge that what we've been doing and what we previously did clearly didn't.
But what's the evidence that this is working? I mean, Trump had a whole party for Putin in Alaska. He literally rolled out a red carpet for him, went out in a press conference, said nice things about him, and then nothing?
I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, but I am saying that we've done things the more traditional way and just going out there and calling Putin an evil war criminal, who of course he is, but does not want to sit at the table and actually negotiate.
Here's the thing, I don't see any evidence. You can say that the previous thing didn't work. The current thing is also not working.
Not yet.
And the only thing that it's doing is emboldening Putin.
It's not.
I don't understand. What is the evidence that it's working?
It's not working until it does. I mean, that's the thing. You keep talking and you keep trying to get these guys.
Well, you could say that about the last effort.
It's not
because I think the other thing.
Scott Jennings' line, "It's not working until it does," might sound clever at first, but it's clear to everyone that he is unwilling to admit any fault in the Trump administration. Just like his MAGA counterpart, Jason Rantz, on Abby Phillip's show, Jennings refuses to acknowledge that Trump mishandled his dealings with Vladimir Putin. The reality is that Trump is afraid of Putin, who knows exactly how to manipulate him. Despite this, Jennings will undoubtedly spin any new developments as a success, even though the truth is that Trump's handling of Putin has been disastrous. Jennings' role, night after night, is to defend and flatter the Trump administration, no matter what.
Is that the very same people who, for the last, 4 years, have basically been saying, we need to just give up. We need the United States wave the white flag and let Ukraine fall if it's going to fall. What they don't acknowledge is that the only reason that we're at a point where Putin even has to talk to some extent is because Ukraine has kept up the military pressure. The military pressure.
And how have they done that?
Has been
with our help.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
I mean,
your MAGA friends were opposed to that, Scott. They were opposed to the United States helping.
My friend is the president. He's not opposed to that.
Okay.
He's obviously kept.
He said he's pure MAGA, though.
He was. So was his vice president.
Are we not supporting Ukraine militarily?
All of those people
of course we are.
Were opposed to it.
And we got NATO to do more. And we got
that
Europe
is
to
the
do
only
more.
reason that he has a chance of even sitting down with Putin.
When you talk to people who are in the thick of this, I asked someone who's an expert on this, what will really move the needle at this point? We're trying something different here. President Trump's trying to get this to go through. It's not working. And they said sanctions on Russia could really, really affect the economy. I just don't see President Trump going anywhere near that or that happening. But I just don't know of any other pressure point. I was here the weekend before the hostage release, and I said, President Trump is going to make this happen. I know he's going to make this happen. There was fear from Netanyahu and fear on Hamas's side. The balance of power is different here. Putin does not think that Trump will push him back on this. And I think that is the big selling point on this.
Yes, and I do think that the kind of elephant in the room here is the United States completely losing, and the Biden administration is immensely complicit in this as well. Moral standing throughout the world due to our complicity in the genocide in Gaza, which has made it very difficult for us to speak to Ukrainian sovereignty. And
watch as Scott Jennings, with his signature smugness, dismisses Emma Vigeland's calm and fact-based arguments. Instead of engaging with the facts, Jennings shakes his head, stares into the camera, and mugs for the audience, acting as though this behavior alone is enough to win the argument. This moment truly highlights how smug and unserious he is when faced with actual substance and facts.
Having a bully like the Russian government invading their sovereign territory. We had a doctor on our show who spoke about how the death toll is in the hundreds of thousands at this point, because the numbers that are currently being reported are only the numbers of the death toll of people who have been counted in the hospital. There are hundreds of thousands of people presumed dead, suffocating to death, crushed to death under rubble because of United States bombs. And that's across this administration and Trump here, who did get this ceasefire that he touts all the time in October. But when you look at the actual numbers here, Israel has violated it hundreds of times since that period, multiple times a day, killed at least 400 Palestinians during that period. And this will go down as one of the worst crimes in the history of humanity that our government, the Biden administration, and the Trump administration are complicit in.
Does it go down? Does it go down? We have to debate this.
Yeah,
we don't have time.
We actually don't.
Oh, we don't have time for the anti-Israel propaganda.
We don't have
We have time for the anti-Israel
We don't have
propaganda.
time to debate it,
Could you say Hamas was wrong at any point during this conversation?
That's fine.
Listen, we know that there's
No one
plenty.
said that.
We know there's plenty of
Except for
disagreement
you.
on
No,
that issue.
I never said that.
We let it on spool for 2 minutes, but sure. I mean, honestly.
Okay, I have a quick word.
Well, I don't understand. Israel's our ally. Not a single word in your speech for the atrocities
Shouldn't be.
that were committed on October the 7th.
We should
not
cut
a
off
single
arms
word,
tomorrow.
Not a single word for the idea that Israel has every right to defend itself. Not a single word for the fact that Hamas right now is killing people inside of God, their own people. You
What do
seem
you
to lay
say-
it all at the feet of Israel,
Israeli
a democratic
human rights
ally
group.
in your own
Excuse me.
country, and you have no
Excuse me.
negative
Excuse
word
me.
for the
Excuse me.
terrorists who raped
All right,
and
all right,
murdered
all right.
and kidnapped.
Excuse me.
Zero.
B'Tselem,
None.
Israeli human rights group, says
None.
they're
And
committing
you still
genocide.
don't.
Guys.
You still don't.
We gotta go. Rita Ninan, thank you very much for being.
Emma Vigeland's stance on U.S. support for Israel is once again spot on. She correctly argues that the U.S. should be cutting off arms to Israel, a move that should have been made long ago. This issue isn't limited to the Trump administration, as the Biden administration has also been closely tied to and protective of Israel. Scott Jennings, firmly entrenched in MAGA ideology, represents the old guard, while a growing number of MAGA voices are breaking away from the establishment mindset, questioning why the U.S. continues to send money and weapons overseas when there are pressing issues at home. Emma's argument resonates with many, while Scott falls back on tired talking points like demanding denunciations of Hamas and reaffirming Israel's right to self-defense. This situation has long moved beyond self-defense, and it's clear that Scott Jennings is likely on the wrong side of history. A growing majority of Americans, regardless of political affiliation, no longer support continued U.S. backing of Israel. Yet it seems that no matter who is in power, Democrat or Republican, that support remains unquestioned. Let us know where you stand in this debate. Do you agree with Scott Jennings and the MAGA panelists, or do you side with Emma Vigeland in calling for an end to U.S. support for Israel?